Over 22 years ago, Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies, or Ace Combat Distant Thunder for those of you in Europe, released. For many, the title would serve as an introduction to the franchise, and its release marked the beginning of the Project Aces era of Ace Combat, which we're still in today. Recently, after completing yet another playthrough, I've come to a conclusion. For me, this game is just peak Ace Combat. These are my 5 reasons why Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is still the king of its franchise. Number 5. Soundtrack.
I have so far to go.
Whether you're playing an Ace Combat game or anything else in the arcade flight sim genre for that matter, a kick-ass soundtrack is absolutely necessary to accompany you while you're screaming across the skies downing enemies, and Ace Combat 4 certainly delivers in this regard. The opening intro music, titled Shattered Skies, still gives me goosebumps to this day when it plays, and it doesn't stop there. It doesn't matter if you're in briefing, the hangar, or in mission, iconic tracks are everywhere. I mean, who doesn't remember the opening to Megalith as the mission starts? Number 4. Roster. While it doesn't boast the largest aircraft variety of the franchise by any means, the roster of Ace Combat 4 is iconic in its own right and set the standard for future titles. Chances are, if there's a plane you like to fly in Ace Combat, it's here. Unless you like to fly the MiG-21, well, then you're shit out of luck. Players start off initially in the F-4 Phantom and then move on to unlock increasingly powerful aircraft like the F-14, Tornado, F-15, F-22, Su-37, and many more. The title was also the first to allow players to equip different special weapons on their aircraft, with additional options being purchasable via the hangar, a feature that, hopefully moving forward, will always be present in future Ace Combat games. Number 3. Gameplay. Alright, if you're watching this video, I'd say there's a 99.9% likelihood that you've played at least one title in the Ace Combat series. If you haven't, well, go play this game. Like right now, seriously. But the vast majority of us all know what to expect when it comes to the franchise's gameplay. Fast-paced jet action that leans a bit away from realism to create a flight sim light-like experience that's fun to be played casually from the comfort of your living room. The thing is though, even amongst Ace Combat games, there's some variance when it comes to gameplay and its feel. Picking up and playing the latest title, Ace Combat 7, feels vastly different compared to previous titles, and it's more than just the addition of the ability to perform high G maneuvers that were introduced in Ace Combat 6 or the more advanced weather system. Amongst all the titles, there are slight to not so slight variations that can be felt during gameplay. Aircraft handling, gun performance, how the AI dogfights against you, and more. Hell, from a certain perspective, there's a strong argument to be made that the quote-unquote best flight model actually belongs to Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, which, if you've never experienced it, has a much more realistic take on your aircraft's angle of attack during flight. But when you add up all of those factors, the things that make an Ace Combat game an Ace Combat game, I think Ace Combat 4 has the overall best complete package. The flight model finds a nice balance between allowing aircraft to do completely unrealistic things and having fun. Guns hit and do damage when you expect them to, even if personally I feel they might have deserved a slight increase in damage. Hitting enemies with missiles and dodging ones fired at you feels right. Rarely, if ever, do I feel like a missile should have hit but didn't. And mission types and difficulty feel spot on. Even on higher difficulties, things don't seem incredibly unfair, even if they can offer a slight challenge at times. I don't want you to think though that every mission in Shattered Skies is perfect. The game has a couple stinkers, sure, but every Ace Combat does. The good far outweighs the bad here, with some of the missions offered being absolutely iconic. Number 2. Story.
I was just a child when the stars fell from the skies, but I remember how they built a cannon to destroy them.
After oh so many playthroughs, it still hits close to home every time. The tragic tale of a boy, too young to know the horrors of war, witnessing the death of his family as a direct result of the actions taken by the plane with the yellow 13, and then going on to look up to that pilot as a sort of role model or father figure, all while the player's actions are steadily progressing towards an ultimate showdown with the enemy Ace, is enthralling. We see the boy's first encounter with the pilot, and even when he knows who the man is, what he's responsible for, he somehow doesn't judge him. He thinks he'll confront him for the death of his family, but it never comes. Over time, we start to see that there's a human side to the enemy, that they aren't necessarily the emotionless aggressors that some may make them out to be. When the boy's last remaining family, his uncle that did nothing other than drown himself in drink, abandons him, he turns to the only ones he seemingly has left, Yellow Squadron, and they befriend him, welcoming him into their own family. This eventually leads to conflicting morals within the narrator. Yes, these people are human, just like him, and have welcomed him, but they also truly are the enemy. It all comes to a head when the boy's friend is caught attempting to plant detonators to sabotage the invaders. As she's fleeing, someone happens to be in her path and stops her. It's none other than the man himself, Yellow 13, who knows that not only is she responsible for this, but also for sabotaging their runway earlier in the story. It's then that the narrator works up the courage to yell,
"Get out of our town, you fascist pig." Those were the words from my mouth. I've never seen his face twist so painfully. Do you hate us that much? We couldn't shake or nod our heads in reply.
He lets them go, despite her actions. No other Ace Combat game comes close to humanizing an enemy ace in the way that Ace Combat 4 does.
He spoke of when she was just a girl, before he trained her, before she became a fighter pilot. His words weren't directed at me in particular. He was keeping a precious memory alive by speaking those words. Yellow 13 posted an Allied paper faxed over by headquarters. It praised the pilot who destroyed Stonehenge. 13 said to everyone, "Look, here's something worthy of praise. Even among the enemy there are men like this. Not all of them are despicable bastards who rob our wings through cowardly sabotage." I stared at the barkeep's daughter as she winced at those words.
It's why I still feel remorse on each playthrough whenever I'm forced to finally shoot him down. I hope that he rests in peace, knowing that he finally found the truly worthy opponent. Number 1. Nostalgia. Over the years as I've gotten older, played tons of games, and then revisited games that I played in the past, sometimes many years back, I've realized something. Nostalgia is a very real factor when it comes to how much you enjoy a game. Picking up and playing a title that maybe you haven't touched in 10 plus years has the ability to instantly transport you back in time, to that period of your life when you were playing it. Emotions, or maybe memories that you haven't thought of in years, suddenly surface. Maybe it's being a kid, receiving the game on Christmas morning and then playing it all day. Or playing it with your buddies, huddled around an old CRT in your first shitty apartment. No matter what it is, it's a factor. In the same way that I associate Ace Combat 4 with my elementary school days, being excited to get home from school to continue my effort to S-rank every mission, it could have just as easily been another title. I never played 5 or 0 in those younger days of my life, and if I did, I can guarantee you it would change in some way the way I feel about them. Call it a cop-out if you will, but for me and a lot of other folks out there, nostalgia is a huge factor in why we continue to love to play some of those older titles, whether an Ace Combat game or something from an entirely different franchise altogether. There you have it, my 5 reasons for why Ace Combat 4 is still the king of its franchise. Be sure to comment down below and let me know your favorite Ace Combat game and what you like the most about it. This is Jarbo Gaming. We'll see you on the next one.